ownership, or production of Glory 93.9 FM.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Wardrobe provided by Bahari Bahamas. Visit shopbahari.com. Good morning, Bahamas, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. As always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really do appreciate you supporting the show every day and listening in. It would mean nothing if you weren't here, so thank you so much for being a part of the experience today. And so on today's show, we are going to be looking at our natural resources, but from another angle, because, we've heard the debate about, only a select few taking advantage of our natural resources. And so many people from all walks of life have had so much to say about what's going on with our natural resources, but we're coming from a different angle today. And I'm calling this show The Paradox of Plenty. The resource curse, the paradox of plenty. Now, what do I mean by that? The Bahamas, believe it or not, is not the only country in the world that has a wealth of natural resources. But yet, so many of the countries around the world, particularly those in Africa, that have a wealth of natural resources that is helping to enrich the rest of the world are themselves in poverty. People poor, as poor as they get, but yet they're sitting on gold mines and cocoa mines. And when I say mines, cocoa fields, in other words, they have the natural resources that are helping to create industries around the world and making other countries rich while their people suffer. So how does that relate to us in the Bahamas? Well, our situation is similar but a little different because we also have a wealth of natural resources that are helping to sustain industries around the world, and our people, too, are suffering. But our situation is a little different because in our case, it's not necessarily, the structure is not necessarily the same. Because in the cases of Africa, their governments are pretty much just selling the raw materials with other governments, other international agencies, not realizing that this is not helping their people to advance. Whereas in our case, it seems that our governments have sold out to the oligarchs, and the oligarchs are the ones that are selling our raw materials. And some allege selling it to themselves on the other side of the pond, and then refining those raw materials and then selling it to the market for high value. So we're going to be talking about the paradox of plenty. How is it that we have such a wealth of natural resources in this country that other countries are benefiting from, but so many of our people broke and poor? And should we now be considering getting into the business of refining our own natural resources on this side of the pond so that we as a people can start to benefit more. That's what we're talking about today. Now, C. Allen, your video is sideways. So it always amazes me that C. Allen Johnson, who is joining us on the show today, when he has technical issues, because anybody who should not have technical issues is C. Allen Johnson. So in the meantime, I just saw John's video and that has dropped out. My guest this morning, okay, there you are, John. My guests this morning are John Bostwick, Born Free, he's known as, in many circles. John, I want you to make, if you have headphones or earplugs nearby, it might be better if you use those for the sake of audio. Welcome to the show, man. This is your first time on the show since I've been here at Glory. Welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. And I will see if I can find some headphones. And yes, it is the first time. I'm really happy to be with you. It's amazing. I love your setup. I love your setup.
You need to see inside the studio. This place is fabulous.
Then you look fabulous, super diva that you are.
Thank you. Now, C. Allen just dropped off. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go to my first clip. That'll give John an opportunity to go look for his headphones, his earphones, and get C. Allen an opportunity to get his technical act together, Mr. Technology. And in the meantime, I'm going to play my first clip. This first clip is called The Resource Curse. Take a listen.
Countries abundant in natural resources are often thought of as the lucky ones, but in reality, the truth can be very different. Natural gifts can be a burden on an economy, tying the fates of a country's citizens to a temperamental commodities market, and opening the door to corruption and exploitation. Are natural resources a blessing to be envied, or a curse? Some resource-rich countries have struggled with less economic growth, less democracy, and worse development. In some cases, internal divisions can lead to violence and authoritarianism. Resources can leave an economy unbalanced. As labour and investment becomes geared towards the abundant natural resources, foreign currencies flood the domestic market. Currency appreciation weakens other industries by making their exports unaffordable, a process that leaves countries unable to react to rapid market changes. Dependence on a single revenue stream has become the great struggle of oil-rich countries. Venezuela boasts the world's largest proven oil reserves, but the low oil price means it's finding it hard to pay its debts, while Saudi Arabia is rebalancing its economy away from oil.
Those are welcome objectives, and that's exactly the kind of transformation that an economy like Saudi Arabia needs.
Some countries and regions have found ways to mitigate the damage resource wealth can do. Oil-rich Alaska gives some revenues back to its residents, and Norway uses a sovereign wealth fund to invest in other industries. The resource curse is not a universal experience. Properly managed, natural resources can deliver great financial security. Is good governance the key to unlocking the potential of natural reserves? Can nations learn to take advantage of what should be an economic boom?
All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get John back on the broadcast now. As I'm coughing. Let me see how I can. Why is it saying remove? I'm trying to. Oh, there you go. So let's get him in on here while we wait for C. Allen to log back on. John, welcome once again. So you heard that clip just now. And like I said in the introduction, we are a little different in that.
Can't hear you, Michelle.
You can't hear me. Okay. Delton, why can't he hear me? It will help if I unmute my microphone. Okay, there you go. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay, he can't hear me for some reason. Let's add Alan to the stream. See, Alan, can you hear me?
It will help if I unmute my microphone. Okay, there you go.
I'm getting feedback from one of the two of you. I don't know
Can
which
you-
one.
I can hear you now.
Okay, you
Okay, you can't hear me. For some reason.
getting feedback on my end. I don't know what's happening. Maybe you should take your air plugs out, John, because something is causing feedback. See, Alan, can you hear me? Okay. See, Alan, can you hear me? Okay.
Now I can.
Okay, see, Alan can hear me. John is working on his situation. All right. Welcome to the show, guys. Okay, so as I said a little earlier, our situation is a bit different from some of the countries that we saw described in that clip with Venezuela and their oil. And yet,
Michelle, now I've lost you.
Okay, can somebody help in terms of what's happening? Okay, that's from his side. Okay, I'm going to remove him from here until we figure it out. I'll WhatsApp him and let him know it's from his side. Okay, so see, Alan, our country is a bit different because we are not like Venezuela that or the African countries that our governments are selling this unrefined natural resource and getting little return for it. We are different in that we are allowing a select few people to sell our unrefined resources to allegedly companies that they are involved with on the other side of the pond. And then that company refines the natural resource and then sells that to the international community. And that's where the money is. So are we at the place now where we need to consider that dismantling that whole arrangement whereby not only are we the people benefiting from the natural resources, not just from the standpoint of exporting the raw material, but becoming a place where it is refined and then having our national system be responsible for selling that to the international market? Is that where we need to be going with this?
Actually, the exact position we need to be in is simply one of ownership. As it stands right now, the Bahamian people don't technically own anything in the personal sense. I talk about beneficial owners because everything in the Bahamas is ours. But essentially what happens is that we have a grouping of people that we call parliament or cabinet, but technically it's the prime minister that selectively chooses how, what, and where the resources in the Bahamas is tapped into and exploited and responsible for whatever contracts. What we need is a national audit and assessment of the resources we have. But most importantly is that we need to take ownership of the resources away from any one individual or any small group of individuals to make that decision. I have been one as an advocate for the last 2 decades of demanding a sovereign wealth fund be properly constituted. And that is what it would do. It would take ownership away from, not ownership, but control away from the prime minister at this particular time and put in the reservoir of the sovereign wealth fund, who would then in turn look for what is called sovereign asset management companies, who would look to exploit whatever resources we have for the maximum value, as well as make recommendations as to laws and policies that we could put in place so that they'll be able to exploit it for our benefit. But the most important thing is the depository, which is the sovereign wealth fund, where we simply say that we'll put all natural and even unnatural assets, seen and unseen, tangible and intangible, in a sovereign wealth fund. So anything we own digitally, intellectually, any otherwise would go into the sovereign wealth fund, which is nothing more than a deposit box. And then we would have a sovereign asset management exploit those for the benefits of Bahamians. And then we could have a conversation on how to, after the profits come back from the sovereign asset management, how it's distributed, how it is applied to our national development plan.
All right, let's see if we can get John in on this conversation. John, can you hear us now? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Fabulous. All right. Everybody's on board. Okay. So talking about whether or not we need to now look at restructuring the way our natural resources are managed, as opposed to just a select few being able to extract and export the raw material, to companies on the other side that they are allegedly involved with, and then refining it on the other side of the pond, and then selling that refined product at a higher value to the international market. Are we at the point now where we need to just completely dismantle that system and look at how we can not just sell the raw material nationally, but as opposed to doing that, now refine it on our own borders and then sell the refined products ourselves to the international market? What are your thoughts on that?
Michelle, just to piggyback a little bit on what C. Allen had said, I 100% agree with him that we do mean to move to a position of ownership.
Yes.
The ownership of our sovereign wealth and our natural resources. And this country is incredibly rich in natural resources of many descriptions. And I love the way that, and by the way, hello to C. Allen and hello to your audience. I love the way that C. Allen almost cryptically said natural resources include the tangible and the intangible, and he would add into those things even digital assets. But the exploitation of those assets by external forces as aided by internal forces has been going on much too long. And you refer to oligarchical society as fed and assisted by totalitarian, more and more totalitarian regimes. Very much the case. And to say all in a breath, add-on value. So it's not only that we need to move to the structures that C. Allen very succinctly outlined, which is the full and true understanding of sovereign wealth and the management of a sovereign wealth fund as what is a trust account, really a depository trust account owned by every Bahamian born with a share in that trust account. Right now, Bahamians are being born with a share in a debt, which is approximately about $23,000 born in debt. But structured right with our natural resources and our mineral reserves in a sovereign wealth fund, every Bahamian should be being born with a large chunk of interest in a trust fund assigned to them, and being the sovereign wealth fund. And as properly structured, such would be segmented into different national corporations. So one might have the National Aragonite Corporation, the National Calcium Carbonate Corporation, and all of these entities, each having its own capital value and an ability to be traded on futures markets internationally to the benefit of Bahamians and not to special interests, and allowing the Bahamas to negotiate those assets through bilateral trade agreements, not through private contracts, and bilateral trade agreements that would guarantee the value of our currency and guarantee the fact that our credit rating would be AAA into the beyond foreseeable future. These are the type of conversations that we should be engaged in, not in conversations talking about who can get a lease to exploit that which belongs to all the people. So it is a very broad discussion, and that is the first part of that discussion. The second part of that discussion is once we take ownership of those national assets, to then be involved in the exploitation of the same for ourselves via value added. And you referenced some of the leadership in Africa, most pointedly in Ghana and other places such as Rwanda and Eritrea and Ethiopia. These places have the highest growth rates on the planet Earth, and they have been sustaining over 7% growth rate in excess of 10 years in some cases. One of the things that they are doing throughout Africa, including West Africa and French Africa, is they are taking back their sovereign assets from their colonial empires. Mm-hmm. And they are saying to the colonial empires that they now will do the value added production to those sovereign assets. So they're not sending out raw ore. They're not sending out raw cocoa. They're sending out processed bittersweet chocolate. And so the Swiss will now have to take and refine the chocolate. They will not be taking the raw cocoa. They will have to be taking a value-added product. We have all types of products in this country that are capable of being value-added just by virtue of the redefinition of their names. And Cialan is one who's been preaching to it. I've been preaching to it. And one such thing is calcium carbonate, which we call rock, otherwise limestone. But calcium carbonate, just by changing the way in which we define and call its name, is a very, very easy product to see value added potential in what is a sovereign natural resource, which is sorely and grossly misunderstood by those presently leading this country.
Well, speaking of the direction that Ghana has decided to go in, I was going to play this a little later in the show, but seeing that you brought it up, I might as well play it now. That's clip number 4, Delton, and this is a clip of an exchange between a Switzerland official and the response by the president of Ghana as it relates to their natural resources. So let's go to clip number 4.
The international trade policies, World Trade.
Not that one. That would be clip number 3.
Relations between Switzerland and Ghana have for decades been characterized by mutual respect. Not every connection between our two countries can be deduced at first glance. Take the gold freneli, or I can translate the traditional gold coin and the chocolate coins, both products that every child here grows up with and which are considered typically Swiss. But neither would exist without gold and cocoa, which we import on a large scale from Ghana. It is quite simple. We need the raw materials, and you have the raw materials. The resulting trade and business should benefit both countries. This principle is part of mutual respect. Gold and cocoa can create work and wealth in both countries.
Ghana is currently Switzerland's largest trading partner in sub-Saharan Africa, larger from the export of gold and cocoa to Switzerland and the import of chemical and pharmaceutical products, as well as light machinery and military equipment from Switzerland. However, as I have stated on occasion, Ghana no longer wants to be dependent on the production and export of raw materials, including cocoa beans. We intend to process more and more of our cocoa in our country with the aim of producing more chocolate ourselves, because we believe that there can be no future prosperity for the Ghanaian people in the short, medium, or long term if we continue to maintain economic structures that are dependent on the production and export of raw materials. We intend to add value to our raw materials, industrialize and enhance agricultural productivity. This is the best way we can put Ghana at the high end of the value chain in the global marketplace and create jobs for the teeming masses of Ghanaians. It is for this reason that my government continues to put in place a number of measures aimed at attracting investment into Ghana, as well as stimulating growth of the private sector. We have succeeded over the last 3 years in ensuring that all our macroeconomic indices are pointing in the right direction. Cut our fiscal deficit, introduced a monetary policy that is stabilizing the currency and reducing significantly the cost of borrowing, and have introduced a raft of tax cuts which are bringing relief to and encouraging businesses. These interventions have led to Ghana recording an annual GDP average growth rate of 7% since 2017, making us consistently one of the world's fastest growing economies during the period. We are one of the most business-friendly economies in Africa, evidenced in our status as the largest recipient of foreign direct investment in West Africa. Ghana has also been selected to host the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area, a market of some 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP of US 3 trillion American dollars. It is the world's largest free trade area since the formation of the World Trade Organization. Our goal is to make Ghana the hub of trade in Africa, and thus serving notice on Swiss investors to take advantage of the growing business-friendly climate in Ghana and of our unique position as host of the AFCFTA Secretariat to set up joint venture enterprises in our country and thereby access this huge market that the free trade area presents.
So, what is our government missing? Why are we not getting this message? Why are we doing things the way we're doing it?
I think one of the biggest defect we have is the, I call it the arrogance of ignorance of our leadership. If you used to go across the 39 individuals that we have in Parliament and ask them to name 25 of the over 100 resources that we have, whether it be tangible or intangible, you would find that most of them have no understanding, not even rudimentary understanding of maybe 1, 2, or 3 of them beyond what they've heard in the marketplace. And I think that the ignorance in this particular arena has been deliberate over the last multiple decades. Because it's easier to govern in the darkness than it is in the light. And so you have those in the back that basically finance and sustain our political parties, has basically made an environment for them to be particularly dumb. You can just look at what happened in the last year, where the Minister of the Environment came back and said that aragonite mining is unsustainable without anything being done. Then come back and look at the former prime ministers and others saying that we have no natural resources. Then look at what is, the duplicity. Then you have the Attorney General says billions are being made from our natural resources. Then you have actual companies that's of owners that's based here in the Bahamas that's promoting around the world of how sustainable billions of tons of our calcium carbonate is in the Bahamas. And so essentially, the disruption I think happened over the last 10 years is when the penetration of the internet happened in the Bahamas, when more of us became involved in the social media over the last, just put it about a decade. But information still has not transmitted to knowledge. And so even time when we said seek ye after wisdom, information only when properly comprehended is considered knowledge. Knowledge only when properly executed is considered wisdom. And so what we have is we have an abundance of information, and you have even people running around with the information, miscuing it for knowledge, and repeating things. And so those individuals in the background behind our political leadership who lack nothing more than rudimentary information. They really have no knowledge, because the knowledge, again, is understanding the information, properly understanding the information. And there's nothing wrong with what I say about our leadership, because ignorance can be cured. Now, if they choose to remain ignorant, then that's where the arrogance of ignorance comes in. And so essentially, what is...
Do you really think, though, C. Allen, this is just ignorance, or is there something else going on here that is a little bit more underhanded?
From a leadership, when I speak of leadership, I want to speak from our political leadership. I've spoken to other leadership within the country that is well aware, and they have chosen to simply give consent to what's going on through their silence.
So that is not it?
No, but that's what I'm saying to you. But the decision makers is the ones who are operating in the arrogance of ignorance, because it is not the person who is exploiting us responsibility to tell us what to do or to put the protection or equity in place.
No.
And so it's the ones that we send to Parliament that actually have no interest in knowing. They really don't, because if you did, one thing about good leadership is, if you look at one of the major titans, they don't know everything, but they are well aware that they could bring individuals around them that has the competence in any particular area to advise them as to what positions and what things to do. But we somehow believe that in the Bahamas, once you're elected, that you are selected, and once you have been appointed, that you are anointed. And so essentially what happens then is that this doom comes over them. And even I've spoken to MPs who most recently lost their position in the last elections and previous elections, who kept saying, I don't know. I said, hey, but you've sat with me for 20 years and hear me talk. They really have no interest in knowing, because what happens is that somehow it seems that once, and I don't want to use the word power corrupts. I really don't believe in power corrupts. And so what has happened is, for me, power does not corrupt. It reveals the persons they pretended not to be. and they had no interest. And so it revealed that they didn't have this interest. And so once they get power, they go on to their own personal agenda, which is self-enrichment or self-positioning, as to looking at the fact that they're on the same boat. Yes. And the tide that rise the boat brings us all up.
Let's get John in on here on this. John, what are your thoughts on this?
Sorry. C. Allen is trying to resist the discussion of an element of corruption being involved in the management of our natural resources. It seems beyond to believe that nobody in governance over the past 30 years is aware that limestone rock is calcium carbonate. For me, that's beyond. And coming to that very easy understanding, it then seems to me to be beyond that people don't understand that Freeport is a strip mine, that those canals and that harbor and that turning basin are open pit strip mines for calcium carbonate. And that in this age, since they've been mining in the Bahamas, we've gone through the Industrial Revolution to the technological revolution, and we're now in the information age. And this is the age where people like C. Allen and others dwell with the knowledge of the world at a fingertip. And we do not have stupid people in governance. We have professionals for the most part. And they have the ability to do this same fingertip knowledge research and come up with all of this information for themselves. And in fact, they have taken the people's mandate to be informed and to share that information. That's who they are. That's why they are where they are.
All right. We have to take a break. When we come back on the other side of the break, I want to go even deeper in this conversation as to who in the international arena are benefiting most from this type of arrangement, whether it be the structure that we have here in the Bahamas, where there are only a select few who are really managing this, and I dare say benefiting from it, or whether you have the structure in Africa where it is being managed from a governmental level, but their people are still not benefiting. Who in the international community is really benefiting from all of this? We're going to look at that on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Ocean blue is the best in seafood, hey, hey. Fresh out the water and affordable too, yeah. We got fish, conch, lobster, shrimp, everything you want. Ocean blue got it. Ocean blue, friendly and green, best service you ever seen. Ocean blue is the best in seafood, hey. Fresh out the water and affordable too, hey. Ocean blue seafood, we are here for you. Ocean blue seafood, no one else will do. Ocean Blue Seafood, located on Burnett Road. Contact us at 393-2160.
Boy, 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 here calamity. Boy, 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 don't want that be me. Let me get this coverage, do it once and for all. Insurance management is who I gonna call.
When calamity strikes, we're here to keep you safe and secure. With offices in Nassau, Freeport, Abacoa, Luther, and Exuma, Insurance Management, we cover the Bahamas.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guests today are John Bostwick and C. Alan Johnson. And I'm going to pull these gentlemen back onto the stream in a moment, but let's go straight to this clip, because prior to the break, I told you we were going to ask the question of who is really benefiting from these structures being the way that they are right now. If you are a regular watcher or listener of the show, you would know that a couple of weeks ago, I did a show on the plot to keep us poor, keeping Africa poor. And in that clip, in that show, you would have heard a clip of a professor talking about how the European nations need Africa to stay poor. They need them to stay poor because they need to continue to reap the benefits of the raw materials that they're selling to them so that their people could have better lives. And their challenge is if Africa ever woke up and realized what the real value of their natural resources was, then the Western world would be in trouble. Well, I want you to take a listen to this clip. This is from a very outspoken African woman who is a former ambassador, I think, to the United. Anyway, I don't remember, but her name will come up on the clip for those of you watching on Facebook. And she pulls no punches here when she talks about how it is the international community that is trying to maintain this stranglehold to ensure that they continue to benefit. And she goes even further than that. Let's go to the clip.
The international trade policies, World Trade Organization that gives a blind eye to countries like Switzerland when they claim to have the best coffee, the best chocolate. Where are all those fields that the Swiss are growing the coffee and the tea and the chocolate? A lot of it is coming from Africa. 65% of the world cocoa is grown in West Africa. They have built cities based on cocoa beans from Africa. Cadbury City, Hershey City. Where is the chocolate city in Africa? When African countries have tried to add value to our cocoa, the tariffs put on the value-added products are so prohibitive that it's not even worth them adding value to our natural resources. Can you imagine if we were to say everything that requires coltan in Africa must be manufactured in Africa? 65% of the world coltan, if not more, is in the DR Congo. Every microchip that requires coltan, if it could be manufactured in Africa, we could eliminate youth unemployment in Africa today. Every laptop, every iPhone, every electric battery, if that microchip could be manufactured in Africa, we would eliminate unemployment. But of course, they won't allow it. What is the World Trade Organization doing about it? Nothing, because they're part of the games that they play. to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. Have you ever wondered why it is so difficult for African nations to add value to any of our natural resources? It's because it's all by design. They want to make sure that we create jobs for them in the Western world. Africa is just going to sit back and we continue to be consumers of the products that they would have added value with our own natural resources. It is a game, and they know exactly what they're doing. World Trade Organization should be held accountable. They need to stop giving a blind eye to those countries that are taking natural resources out of Africa and relabeling them as if they're originating in their own countries. Because some of the best teas, best coffees in the world, our farmers are being given pennies on the dollar. Unacceptable, and it has got to stop. Again, it goes back to the mind to say, why haven't we done something about it? We can fix this. That needs to change. So the trade policies are skewed against the Africans. That's another issue that must be addressed. It is now you and I.
Okay, so let's get the gentleman back in here. You heard the woman. She lays much of this squarely at the feet of the World Trade Organization, the same WTO that we were talking about joining. And as she pointed out so eloquently, that even the African nations that are trying to move towards where they're refining their own products, they try to put these stiff tariffs on them to keep them down. As she said it, they know what they're doing. And I dare say the same thing is happening here in the Bahamas. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And yet we are sitting back being distracted. I like a post that I read on Facebook this morning, I think it was. And they said that the arrest yesterday of Kumalafi was just an attempt by this government to distract us from the real issues. This is one of the real issues that they're trying to distract us from. Now, we've heard the stories about, not the stories, the reality of all of the things. Let's just look at aragonite and everything that aragonite is used for in terms of refined aragonite and all of the things that aragonite is used for. If we were doing that, producing those things here in the Bahamas, we would not have the debt that we have. We would not have the level of poverty. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS. Okay, that caller hung up. We would not have the problems that we're experiencing right now in this country. They know what they're doing. What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
I would agree, but again, if you ever went to a farmer's market and somebody's selling, say, Parmesan or Promegate, or whatever it's called, for 25 cents, right? Who would then go and make the argument that, hey, and scream at them that you're selling it for the wrong price? You could get $5 for this. You could get whatever for it. So it's incumbent upon us, and again, through leadership, to basically put us in a position of the one word, ownership. And essentially, I wish it was just as simple as saying it's simply just ownership, but it's a matter of influence, and it's a matter of the voters and the Bahamian people themselves not being informed enough to actually make a demand upon the people, upon their leadership as to the direction they want to go. And that aspect of being informed in regards to the resources we have, keeping it out of the public domain. I know we have put emphasis on aragonite, but even the use of aragonite, we talk about the exploitation of aragonite as far as getting us in a position of refining it here and putting people to work and all these different things. We have a workforce of maybe 250,000 people. And so just even processing aragonite doesn't necessarily address the workforce itself. However, it could come if we have ownership and participation both in the manufacturing. You look at the fact of the dozens of things that aragonite can be used for in the multiple of industries. And so you're not going to bring all those industries here. So you have to basically get value for the product itself as it leaves the country. The same value that those individuals use, what is called the process you spoke of is called transfer pricing. And the way transfer pricing works is that it's simply where you have no laws against transfer pricing, or we have no laws here against monopolies either, or collusion. And essentially the way transfer pricing works is if I have a contract with you to say give you $2 a ton, I can keep that in spite of me getting $500 a ton. And part of that say you initially pay $2 plus you pay 10% or 20% of what you get. The way I would do that is I would set up a separate company which is being done. And I would sell that to myself, which would then fulfill our contract. And that second company, which I still have constructive control of, would sell it for $400. And in developed countries, that practice is illegal. And that is actually the word is.
Yeah,
so,
it's not like you can't do anything about it. That practice is illegal in other countries. So why is it not illegal here?
Michelle, because this country is set up for oligarchs. In other countries, they have antitrust laws. In other countries, nobody could have a cement cartel. In other countries, nobody could have an asphalt cartel. In other countries, nobody could own all of any single industry. But here, you can have an asphalt cartel. You can have an asphalt monopoly. You could have a cement duopoly. Okay? A cement duopoly. All right? We sign laws to allow the casinos to say there only can be 3 casinos. We are all about oligopolies, duopolies, monopolies. We're not about open and free market. That is not a truth. That's a fallacy in our concept of democracy and our concept of capitalism. This country is run by cartels, not by free open market forces.
My God.
The banking association has become a cartel in and of itself, dominated by foreign banking interests. Dominated by foreign banking interests, not locally owned banks. So when you talk about all of these things, and what C. Allen is talking about at a very high level of discourse, when you talk about transfer contracts and all that, at the end of the day, they're selling to themselves. They're being taxed to themselves, taxed by the value to which they're selling to themselves. So, and this is going on all levels. This is going on to a certain level with the fuel that's coming in this country.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
that's the greatest scam.
Where they're hedging on the fuel, where they have the fuel majors have offshore companies that they sell the fuel to, and then they sell it to the local company. Okay, so this is going on. This is open. This is not a secret. None of it is a secret.
Hidden in plain sight.
It's not hidden.
No, it's not hidden. No, it's not hidden. That's the point.
See, that's the point. It's not hidden.
Everything that George spoke about, you could find in the newspapers.
Okay, none of it is hidden.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's that it's blissful, and he spoke to it. Ignorance. What is missing here is knowledge, and CA spoke to it again. You could have knowledge, but yet have no understanding. You could be looking at something right in front of your face and not have an understanding of it. Okay.
So when you guys talk about ignorance, you're not necessarily talking about ignorance of the leaders, but ignorance of the people who put the leaders in there who aren't making these changes?
Ignorance of the masses. And let me give you a simple example. We're talking, and see, this ignorance of the masses is also a manufactured ignorance. This is a Machiavellian paradigm, a paradise of Machiavellian philosophy.
Wow.
An ignorant mass is an easy mass to manipulate. This is a dream of a principality. Okay.
Oh, yes.
This is
a $1 trillion economy as certified by the WTO, and somebody has to be existing in this $3 trillion economy making money. Somebody has to.
They're not even oligarchs. They're princes, and we are living in a fiefdom. The cleanest example of a true fiefdom in this area of a true monarchy is Haiti. See, people think it's a joke. Haiti is run by a royal family to this day, by a social elite. There are more millionaires in Haiti than there are Bahamians in the Bahamas. 9% of the population are millionaires. And the population is 11 million people.
And no more than 20 families control Haiti economy.
And they are And each one of those families actually has a coat of arms bearing back to King Christoph. Okay? So we have to be aware of what we are dealing with. And you have oligarchical structures here. The white knights have married into the black knights, have married into the sunshine boys, have married into the square deal, and they are oligarchical in their nature. Okay, so again, it's a blissful ignorance. And if we were to teach the child, and I say this, if we were to teach the child when we in the playground throwing rock at each other or crushing up the white rock and saying we making gunpowder, all the things that we did as children, and we throwing the rocks at each other, we were to teach the child and say, no, do you know that that rock is limestone? And teach them from grade 4. Do you know what limestone can be used for? Do you know that limestone, in fact, is calcium carbonate by the time you hit grade 6 and you start general science?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what calcium carbonate can be used for? And you're being taught that. Do you know that calcium carbonate is put into food and it is put into orange juice as a calcium supplement? Do you know that the rocks that you're walking on is a food grade mineral? By the time you hit graduation, you're going to want to study biochemistry. You're going to want to be into the mineral resource of the Bahamas. You want to understand what else there is. You want to find out that there's in fact fluoride in San Salvador. Fluoride. You will find out that there are minerals all over the Bahamas that are being used for bone regeneration and dental cavity filling. That these people are taking out resources. We're all about here talking about aragonite and freaking out about. We're just figuring out about the aragonite. We don't even know we have fluoride here.
My God.
Okay.
I want to read a comment from one of our Facebook viewers. That's not the one. Sorry, it moved up on me. Here it is. It says, this is from Philippa. She says, that's why we need to revamp our educational system. It's systematic ignorance, in a sense. I agree with her 1,000%. I was in a conversation just this weekend with someone, and we were talking about the old government high school system, how you had to pass a common entrance exam to get into that school, and how it was such a big deal. And I was telling her how I remember my family listening around the radio, because what they used to do at that time was they would read off the names of the students who passed over the radio, over ZNS. And that's how you knew whether or not you were accepted into the school. And I remember my family, the whole family, sitting around listening to the reading of those names to find out whether or not I made it in. And when my name was called, I remember my grandmother threw her head back to the point where she accidentally hit her head on the wall. And she said, oh, thank you, Jesus, she made it in, because that school, a government school, was more desirable than the private schools that you had to pay money to go to. This school was the creme de la creme in terms of the level of education that you received there. And we had a government that decided to dismantle that system, and still trying to justify it. They decided to dismantle that system because they said that so many resources were being poured into that school to the degradation of all the other government schools. And so they wanted to level the playing field. Now, my thing is this. Why are you going to dismantle something that clearly worked? Because if you look at many of the leaders that came to lead this country, they came through that school. So why would you dismantle something that clearly worked, that clearly did its job, to dumb it down as opposed to bringing the other ones up? That was an intentional act, in my humble opinion. And so this person raises a very good point to answer what John said. Why would they educate children about that? Because you're going to grow up, you're going to grow up to realize, okay, wait a minute, we can't be having this. This is wrong. So they don't want you to have that knowledge. I dare say that our D average is intentional.
It comes back to what I said, and Nancy Allen will speak to this. It comes back to what I said about the Machiavellian paradise. The ignorant mass is an easy mass. You see, you have the Pinlands and all of those. They went to LSE in the 50s, and they studied under Heath, and they went to the same type of education that I went to. And you understand these things. And when I studied Machiavelli, I wanted to learn how to dismantle a principality. So I went to study Machiavelli's The Republic, Discourse to the Republic, and it teaches you how to dismantle a principality. These people learned how to build a principality, and what it said to them is you have to shut down government high school. You cannot allow any more to come through the same gate that you came through. You have to break that. You can't allow them to have the same knowledge base that you have that leads you towards this desire to freedom. It was purposeful. It was more than purposeful. And when you sit down and you look at the resources that are still poured into the public education system, the public education system, when I last checked, was getting about $8,000 to $9,000 per student. That is more money than the private education system is getting. And what is going on is that the public education system is producing an F average and the private education system is producing a B average for a national average of D. So what is going on? It's a gross mismanagement of resources in the public system. It can only be that because they're getting more money per capita. So, and why is that? Why is that? Because what you have done in your economic model is determined that you're not breeding owners. That Finland said, you could come in from working hard, you could come in the air conditioning and work in the what? In the hotel. Work in the hotel, serving drinks and folding beds. So you don't need to have a high-level education to do that job. They've been producing, purposely through our education system, hotel workers. Not hotel owners, because we could have been developing the tourism sector from a point of view of ownership of it. But we were developing the tourism sector from a point of view of being employed by it. Every government comes to power saying, oh, look at how many jobs we got you. We got a new hotel. Right now, this government is trying to exist by finding a way to restart the tourism sector after it has been proven to be the most vulnerable situation that we're in. All they are doing in this economic recovery is trying to find a way to jumpstart tourism, getting ready to give away our Lakaya to jumpstart re-tourism, doing anything they can do to get the cruise ships to start. No, they are still not yet to the point of realizing that that in itself is a failed policy. To have an economy based on a two-tier sector, a two-tier basis of two-tier industries, and both of those industries, service industries, is a failed and doomed policy. This pandemic should have proven that. But still, they haven't come out of it understanding that we need to be going in a totally different direction. Our education structure doesn't need to be training people to work in hotels anymore. We need to be training people to understand the natural resources that are under our feet and how to take possession of them and how to develop them. When you talk about aragonite, it's too far a push for their minds. This is why I've switched my conversation, Michelle, to calcium carbonate. Because all you got to do to enhance that is dig it up and crush it. That's it. That's all you got to do. All of these backhoes with digging up this rock, they're digging up calcium carbonate. So you can take the discussion of that to a value-added product simply by changing the definition, changing the words. You don't have to go any deeper than that. And it is time for that to happen. And so conversations such as this, and the more we shine the spotlight on it, the more we make it clear that it's not just to come to the awareness. It is come to the awareness and then to know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, it's to know what to do. It is to form these national corporations, to go back to what C. Allen started with, sovereign wealth funds, national corporations, traded entities. It is to go there. It's not just to start waking up and saying, oh, well, Mother said, you realize that limestone is calcium carbonate? That's where our leadership is at this point. That is too far behind. They cannot stay 20 years behind. We need to leapfrog now. Africa has leapfrogged the rest of the world and gone 20 years ahead. They're not waiting to catch up or to try to become equal. They've gone ahead. Rwanda is making cars. Ghana is making cars. Nigeria is making cars. From the raw materials, from the rubber, they're making the tires. From the raw materials, from the iron ore, they're making the steel and making the car. We got to get there. And Africa did that in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. See, Alan,
I'm one to believe that we could turn the Bahamian economy around, believe it or not, in 2 years. And a lot of that, and I've taken the challenge for economic. I bring your economists and bring them around. But yes, when you go back to the education system, they've taken us from picking cotton to folding cotton. And then what you had was that you had an oligarchy system where you had government high school. Yes, the threat for me for government high was the fact that government high posed a threat to the leadership, the slave leadership, where they were simply being challenged at the top. Now, even though government high, the byproduct of government high was it was inserting something that caused people to think. And so it was, and so you had thought leaders that came through the school. it was not an intent. So not only were they having a threat to this pyramid where only a few could be at the top, but they were also having people who began to go off to school. And they didn't just go into the English system, they also began to move into American other systems. And they began to come back and with these new ideas, because at the time in the 80s, the world was the first increment of digitization that began, even though the first digital revolution began in 92. During the 80s, there was a transitional period. It's almost like you begin to see buds of what a future world could be. So essentially, they reacted and they created a dumbed down system to which to keep people totally disconnected from the whole system. And then they somehow sustain the system by so-called this tourism model, the plantation. So essentially, what they did is they took you out of the house where you used to go to the fields and work. And so this time what they said to you is, you're no longer slaves. You now own us. But you got to pay rent, you got to pay light, you got to pay food, you got to pay water, and all these different things. And so in essence, they just moved the fence on the plantation and moved the definition of slavery. But what happens now is that, and a lot of people talk about education. I'm one to believe that we should seek empowerment first while simultaneously readjusting the education system. Just like the educational system we had right now, we had the most beautiful opportunity to bring in a new education system, digitize it. The whole world gave us that opportunity. And what we did is we tried to redecorate it. We have a government and a minister of education that has lied about digitization. For people who don't know, I challenge them to present just present the plan that you see for digitization. It does not exist. And so what happens with empowerment, and when we begin to talk about these natural resources, there's almost 100 of them, is that each one of them are worth in the billions of dollars that we could exploit. But when we begin to talk about this empowerment system, an empowered person will demand better education for themselves and for their students and for their children. An empowered person will demand better homes. An empowered person will demand better neighborhoods. And so what we have to do is we have to look at these particular resources, and this is where the ownership comes back. And we have to begin to empower our people who will then have the time and the effort to look forward to actually embracing the new global digital reality that we're in. I mean, just not digital, but just economic reality that we're in. Let's use, for instance, we use aragonite, calcium carbonate, limestone, whatever you want to call it. If you begin to understand what aragonite is a form of carbon capture. So literally speaking, we have captured billions of carbon credits in the ocean, basically because of our radiant heat, because of the sea. There's aragonite in all waters, but somehow because of the radiant heat, maybe a geolocated location, and when the water passes through the sea, the carbon dioxide in the air combines with the ocean water coming up, or steam or condensation, whatever you want. It creates aragonite, calcium carbonate, whatever you want to call it. So that means every single year we're producing billions of dollars of carbon credits that we can have. This is something next Wednesday, the government of the Bahamas can go into Parliament and pass a law that allows us to basically trade carbon credits, carbon capture, to the tune of $20 billion on the first instance. And how is that? Because the Nature Conservatory and other agencies around the world has already been to the Bahamas, and without even looking at the aragonite, they've said our mangroves, our coppice, and other plants and stuff already capture $5 billion worth of carbon in Grand Bahama, and about $7 to $12 billion in ANRES that has been captured. We haven't really quantified it. So that would mean you're looking at a national budget of about $3 billion. We technically should be at around national budget about $5 billion based on the fact of the rapid growth that we need. But here it is that we have $10 to $20 billion of carbon credits that we could pass a law tomorrow for, and begin to, if we used to get 50 cents on the dollar, we could meet 100% of a $5 billion budget that allows us to rebuild and transform the Bahamas for the 21st century. But and I haven't talked about the waterways or the airspace or our geolocation, the fact that the world is digitizing. We could just look we've been trying to do a digital tech hub in Grand Bahama for 4 years. It should have taken 4 months. Let's use an example.
Well, we have to take a break, C. Allen. We have to take a break. So We're going to take a quick break. We're talking today. This is a lot of information. We're talking today about the paradox of plenty, the resource curse. Why are we not taking advantage of our natural resources from a point of view of refining them and selling them at a higher market value, as opposed to allowing a select few people to extract and export to themselves, in essence, and then sell at a higher value once it's been refined from that side? It's just madness what we're allowing to happen in this country. And we're talking about that now on the show. So definitely stay with us. When we come back, we're going to look more at this resource curse. And we're pretty much going to ask the question on the other side of the break, how is it, or when is it, that resources, instead of being a blessing, can be a curse? So stay with us. This is GPS.
Located on Carmichael Road, Divine Designs Hair Boutique is a haven for women and men looking for professional beauty services. Our state-of-the-art and contemporary equipment creates a relaxing ambiance for you to enjoy while we cater to you. Need a hairstylist? We cater to all types and textures of hair for care and styling. We even have a barber on duty. Need a nail tech? Our technicians provide a range of nail services, including the latest trends. Unwind in one of our massage chairs while you get your pedicure. With our reasonable rates, friendly staff, and over 20 years of experience, you will be in great hands. Call us at 823-1669 or 698-1025 to schedule your appointment. Want to be pampered? Want to be slayed? Let Divine Designs make your day.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. ABECA-focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information.
For moms-to-be and your little ones, there's Baby Bliss, the baby shower specialist, with the best selection of shower gifts, care items, and gender reveal rentals. At Baby Bliss, we carry only the finest brands to comfort mother and baby. From preemie to 24 months, we are truly the ultimate baby store. Mimi is a new tradition in ladies' apparel, featuring fabulous fashions, sizes small to 3X. Look like you just stepped off the runway with trending, stylish selections that bring out the fashionista in you. Making a statement is easy when you shop at Mimi. Visit us both at the Mackey Street Plaza.
Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Piratesville, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guests today are C. Alan Johnson and John Bostwick. And we are talking about the paradox of plenty. I want to go ahead and read a couple of your comments from Facebook, and there are quite a lot of them. I obviously can't get to all of them. But Doris says, in some cases, it is both ignorance and laziness in government. Having knowledge means that you would have to do something about it. That is not the gender that most people come into. I think he meant agenda that most people come into Parliament for. They are there for money, for more money. In many ministries, the leaders are slow and don't care about employees and customers. We need to start putting people in those ministries who have the experiences that Bostwick and Johnson are talking about. Elizabeth says, wow, eye-opening. Candy says, here the laws are set for enriching every other country but our country. Let's see, Catherine says, for the life of me, I still cannot understand why we are trying to move away from fuel, getting into solar. Well, Catherine, the rest of the world who is in fuel is now moving away from that. So that should tell you something. Devaney says the government isn't for the people, but the people refuse to see that. Perlene says, I am so tired of hearing people talk. What are we going to do? I am talking to the smart people. We can talk all we want, but we need real people to lead. Let's see. I'll read a couple more. Let's see. Bertha says, read, research Bahamians. Our government, for some reason, are keeping the Bahamian people ignorant. We live in a rich country. One or two more. Let's see. Okay. Bertha also says, Michelle, I am literally crying. This is intentional. And my children have to go through this government system because most of us definitely can't afford the private schools. And that's something. Okay, one more, and then we will get back into the discussion. Let's see. Okay, so Devaney says, current and past governments are financed by the persons that benefit from the natural resources. Your vote is a powerful tool. All right, so let's get the guys back in on this conversation. Yes,
I
go
think
ahead.
that one person who says, I think they left with the word not, why we are not moving away from fuel into solar. Not that why we are moving away.
Okay,
I
got
think
it.
that's what its intent was.
Okay, all right. All right, so I want to play one more clip. This clip is looking at when natural resources, which should be a blessing, actually turn into a curse. And I want you to listen carefully to this because this speaker, actually it's a panel on a television show. They really are going to speak to the importance of good governance and good management. So listen to this.
Natural resources are very valuable. You can imagine it's like there's huge piles of cash buried underground. And if an armed group like ISIS can get that cash out, it can use the money to pay for weapons or to pay soldiers. If an authoritarian regime like Iran or Azerbaijan gets the money out, they can crush dissent. And of course, if a corrupt official gets the money out, he can spend it on himself. So, for example, the young Saudi prince not long ago spent over $500 million buying a boat for himself on one day. He could have bought 2,700 Lamborghinis, but he spent the country's oil money on a boat for his own use.
But that doesn't always happen, does it?
Well, definitely it can happen, but it's very hard to understand why it happens and how it happens because things can go wrong at so many different stages of the process. So it sounds easy. We have a lot of resources. Let's convert it into sustainable growth for the country. Unfortunately, there are lots of steps that the government needs to manage correctly, starting from the explorations to the extraction to setting up deals with the companies to then deciding how to invest the money. And in all these phases, something can potentially go wrong. So I wouldn't talk about one single resource curse, but multiple ways that things can not work as well as possible for these countries. So we should not be too surprised that developing countries are having a hard time managing resources, because it's actually a pretty hard management task in a sense.
When do resources curse? And there's a big dividing line. The big question is your government accountable to the people when the money starts coming in? Places like Norway, Botswana, the government is accountable to the people, so the people make the government use the money for the public good. But if the money comes in under the rule of a strong man like Gaddafi, it just makes him stronger. If the money comes in during a civil war like in Nigeria, it just fuels the warring parties. The key is that resources are money, money is power, and unless that power is accountable to the people of the country, the resources will curse.
All right, gentlemen. You heard it for yourselves, what they had to say on that panel discussion, on that show roundtable. Resources that should be a blessing for your people, if properly managed. If you have a governmental system in place that truly cares for the advancement of its people, your resources should be a blessing. And yet, for many nations, they are actually a curse. Or, in our nation, go ahead, C. Allen.
For our nation, we are small dinghy. We are small dinghy. We could turn this dinghy around very easily compared to other nations with multiples of millions of people. And many of our resources, like I just spoke to, with carbon credits, we have to do nothing, but nothing but reap the benefits. Simply put, carbon credits are sold, put into a sovereign wealth fund. That $5 billion or $10 billion a year is directed for national development. The most powerful tool that we have is a properly constructed sovereign wealth fund. For instance, we have this Parliament Select Committee. They were just here in Grand Bahama. I went to one of their meetings, I wasn't invited to, but I just passed by because I heard about it. Many of the individuals I see they interviewing concerning natural resources have no clue as to the variations of natural resources that we have in our country. And they spoke to the attorneys of the companies that's exploiting the natural resources. And you have to ask about the validity of that organization when any and all natural resources cannot be exploited without consent of cabinet and the prime minister. And so it's very easy to simply pass a law that simply says going forward, or whether we know about it or not, it will now pass through this sovereign wealth fund, not through the control or subject to the minister or anything of that sort. But what we have is we have leadership that's trying to put in place laws that allows for the exploitation to continue in its current form through stealth or through otherwise. When it's simply saying you're going to surrender the complete authority of all natural resources, seen, unseen, tangible, intangible, known and unknown. So now, where that video spoke about the fact of saying if the expertise, the mistakes can be made, we now have developed way past that stage now that we have experts in every particular discipline that you can buy. If I was to chip my teeth today or tooth today, I wouldn't go and become a dentist. I would go and buy the expertise of a dental surgeon or whatever is required. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing that the Bahamas can do. We could start with some natural resources that we have to do nothing but actually claim the value of it. But we have to take it out of cabinet. We have to take it out of the hands of the prime minister and put it in the public domain. And that's the best way, is a properly constituted sovereign wealth fund that lets people know this is the resources we have. It's in this trust. Now, how do we exploit it? Let's buy the expertise that is needed to bring about the maximum value that we can get for the benefit of the Bahamian people. We have $1 trillion resource called fisheries and our economic zone. We are geolocated. Location is everything. For almost every one of our natural resources is based on our location. But the problem is that we're not having this type of conversation. What we have is we have a lot of noise in the marketplace that drown out persons like myself, John Bostwick, and others that actually is trying to make it. And you have individuals that exploit the pain and suffering of the people and redirect it to simply, and most people are now, when you see people come to some knowledge or fraction of a knowledge of the natural resources, they get the position of, I can fix it. I'll take care of you. So they're trying to continue this patrimony, matrimony, whatever you call it, to simply say, I will continue to feed you, as opposed to having us as a collective go and exploit the world. If we have access to the resources, John spoke about this tourism prison that we're trying to redecorate, trying to remodel, say people are going to come back. The world has moved away from the model that we're having. We talk about the diversification of economy. We tourism, not tourism, but hospitality is the 10th largest industry as far as economics in the world. We have yet to exploit maybe 5% of the hospitality market. But the problem is expanding more into the hospitality market will bring ownership. We could probably make 10,000 millionaires in the Bahamas in the next 5 to 10 years by exploiting hospitality from an ownership sense. We don't need the cruise ships. The only thing we need is to create an environment for people to come to the Bahamas. We have it for sports tourism, digital tourism, education tourism. I could go through a host of them that we have that we can develop. Church Miami. Just Miami. We were trying to develop for 4 years digital.
Hold on,
Just one point. I just want to show you how quick this can be done. We've been trying to develop a tech hub for 4 years. The mayor of Miami wrote a 40-character text and sent it on Twitter. And over the last 3 months, the world is fighting to get into Miami as part of a tech hub environment, when our environment and laws is superior to the state of Florida. Just Google Miami Tech Hub and you'll see major billion and trillion dollar companies fighting to get there. But yet we live in a superior environment, but we lack the leadership that has the competency to understand how to put it in the position to be exploited.
All right, let's get John in here, because John, I know I saw a note, but you say you have to leave the broadcast soon. So let's hear from you.
Yeah, and I am actually trying to make sure that I can stay in as long as possible. But Sialan said a lot there, and to the clip as well. And I want to really try to address a lot of what he said and what the clip said. So and to take it backwards. Sialan, as you know, the mayor of Miami could afford to say that because he has energy at 9 cents a kilowatt. Start there. And we could talk all the heck we want about data in the Bahamas, data centers and data processing and all the rest, and we have the best environment, and that is true. But we also have one of the highest electricity tariffs in the region, which makes it unfeasible because of the high energy consumption and digital mining and crypto mining and all the rest of it. But yes, of course, we could fix that. And because as one of the callers said, or the commentator said before, and as you know, Sialan, I myself have made a proposal as recent as April of last year, at no cost, to introduce 300 megawatts of solar energy into the Bahamas at 12 cents per kilowatt hour at 0 cents of installation cost to the government of the Bahamas or BPL. I have not even had the decency of an answer, although having had presentations to the BPL board, BPL's chairman, Bahamas Investment Authority, Office of the Prime Minister, fully funded 300 megawatts solar energy, 12 cents a kilowatt hour, which would have allowed all of that you're talking about with digital mining and all the rest of it to happen, which can't happen because of the energy costs. Okay, so we can take that comment and roll that even further back into the fact that these unseen, untangible natural resources that you keep mentioning, such as the digital economy, such as airspace. Airspace is another one. There's $300 to $400 million in revenue sitting in the fact of us not issuing a paper contract further to the proper management of our airspace. Okay? That's a contract to write a piece of paper between us and the Southern Air Command if we wanted to do it that way. We don't have to go through all of this headache of setting it up ourselves. We just need to give them the management rights that they now do without having a contract. So they keep all the revenue. So our marine space, our marine traffic pass-through, these are all natural resources. Now we're talking about all these fancy things like aragonite and calcium and this and all the rest of it. Those are the tangible things. And then we could go into the things that we have yet to materialize. There is oil in the Bahamas. There is natural gas in the Bahamas. Now let's go back to the
methane.
And methane.
The test showed methane.
Okay. And methane and methane oxide. And they have something called crystallized methane on the seabed in this country. All right. So a product that you could dig up as a crystal and set fire to it. So there are so many resources. We have plants in the Bahamas and Cat Island called jatropha. Jatropha has a seed and a nut that is so high in oil that when you just crush the nut, you can strike a match and light it, and it burns.
Wow.
That's how high it is in biodiesels, okay? So, and we use it as hedges in Cat Island. There is so much wealth in this country. See,
And
Alan
yet-
talked about carbon sink.
Mhm.
We are the largest carbon sink in this hemisphere and possibly in the world. The flats, the mud flats, all of those salt ponds in the Bahamas, they're carbon sinks. The aragonite is being formed through the fact that it is carbon being precipitated out of the ocean. That is a fact. The sand itself is a carbon sink. The mangroves are carbon sinks. The pine forests are carbon sinks. The coral reefs are carbon sinks. And there are carbon sinks, every one of those, a minimum of 5 times more effective than the Amazon rainforest. So mangrove is 5 times more effective per acre than rainforest at sinking carbon, as are mud flats, etc., 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 etc. And the carbon credits of the Bahamas do trade at billions of dollars. The carbon credits alone would wipe out our national debt and return us to AAA credit rating overnight. When Allen says that this country could be returned to prosperity in 18 months, he is not lying.
Yeah.
It could be done through negotiation of carbon credits, Michelle. It could be done through negotiation of aragonite rights. It could be done through negotiation of calcium carbonate rights. It could be done through negotiation of overfly rights. Any one of them.
Listen,
Any
guys,
one of them.
what I am hearing you describe is a lot of low-hanging fruits.
All kinds of types. But I want to just finish with this one little point, and I'll tell you why. So you mentioned Botswana and Norway and sovereign funds. Sovereign is actually applicable in those two particular jurisdictions because there are sovereigns. There are actually royal families. And when those royal families did have some say, they created a system, just like in Ethiopia, for example. Selassie gave away his throne. Okay? He was a sovereign who created democracy. Those sovereigns, and it takes a certain level of benevolence, caring, and love for your people in leadership to create such a sovereign fund to start off with. So what I suggest is that if we had caring, benevolence, and love and understanding in our leadership at any point, that's where the creation of a sovereign fund that shares the wealth with the people starts. It starts from the philosophical heart center and the ethos in its leadership. So that has to be there. Okay, and then you see the low-hanging fruit, and you don't say, how do I fill up my basket with this low-hanging fruit? And how do I fill up my basket and the baskets of those special interests that are maintaining me with this low-hanging fruit? But how do I share this wealth across the nation? How do I make every Bahamian wealthy? How do I put, and again, see, when you hear certain people around the place beating these drums, talking about, oh, there's so much natural resources in this country, we're going to give every Bahamian $100,000. That too is perverse. That is grossly perverse. And it's perverse in a different way because it's feeding into this concept of a handout economy. That vote for me and I'll give you $100. No, but he can't. I got more than I give you $100 grand. No, there's enough sovereign wealth in this country to put it in a situation properly managed as a trust that every Bahamian is born wealthy, dies wealthy, not on a $100,000 handout. So that every Bahamian could walk inside a hospital and because he has his share of the sovereign trust and get a new heart if he wants it. Get new eyeballs if he wants it.
But not only that.
But
not only that.
Get free education if he wants it.
Yeah, but the hospital that he would walk into would be a grade A 5-star hospital.
Grade A, that's what I'm saying. It got a new heart. It got a new heart sitting down in there. Michelle, that's an easy thing because we have. That's where I started. A new heart sitting down. Anything you wanted is there.
But you know what the problem is, guys? Here's the problem.
Leadership.
We keep putting people into parliament who they believe in sovereignty. And let me explain what I mean by that. They think that they are the sovereign and we are their subjects. And in some kingdoms you have good kingdoms, good kings and queens, and in some kingdoms you have bad kings and queens. So the problem that we are experiencing is that these guys believe that they are kings and queens, some of them more so kings, but they bad kings.
No, so Michelle, the sad thing, they don't believe they're kings. They don't even know that they're free.
No.
These men are still
They don't know,
slaves.
they don't know they're free.
These men
That's
are still
where the
slaves,
problem
and they
is.
are still serving sovereigns.
They think they are managers of the plantation.
So in other words, they just a higher level of
house Negroes.
They're managers.
Say it, house Negroes. Uncle
yes,
Tom's.
yes, yes, that's all they are. They go into the house and they carry that mentality within the house.
House Negroes. Okay, so we're not their subjects. We just a little lower than them because they in the house.
They in the house, and they don't want us yet in the house. They don't want. They want to know what that. They want to know what that Negro doing on a nag.
My God,
that's who they are.
Yeah,
you understand? They Samuel Jackson and Django. That's who they are. No joke. Serious.
This is
and
disheartening.
Me and Cialan, we's Django. We dare ride a nag. They want to know what we doing on the nag. All right.
Yep. They want to. Hey, when we come in the house, they want to burn the mattress we slept on.
They'll burn the mattress. That's
My
right.
God.
That's a serious thing.
This is disheartening, y'all.
Let me tell you where the biggest problem is here in the country. There's something that came about out of the Arab Spring, and it's a statement that says, "The power of the people is and shall always be greater than the people in power."
Correct.
That is not a 5-year affair. That is ethos that has to be adopted by the people on a daily basis. When they begin to hold every individual member of parliament accountable on a daily basis, you will see a paradigm shift almost immediately. If we get just 20 communities to take ownership of the power, because understand, we don't give power to politicians. We give them authority, but they have convinced us that we no longer have the power for those particular period. And so when we begin to recognize that power isn't given, it's taken, and no one has taken it from us. And so there is no need to take nothing back. It is actually begin to recognize that you still have that power to dictate on a daily basis what your employee does. But it requires a collective within that community to hold that particular member of parliament accountable on a daily basis, and 20 communities begins to become the majority that will dictate the direction we want the country to go. Because say, for instance, we send Bostwick to parliament. If every Sunday I give a report of everything he said, what he did, and what he represented, every Sunday, 52 reports per year. And when he comes back to that community and we heard what he said that week, and we said, hold on a second, and we're going to call a press conference and we're going to call you out. Because you did not speak for us, you did not come to us, you did not consult with us, and what you say did not represent the interests of this community. And so when you begin to recognize that you have not given a power, the power of the people still remains with the people, even when you send them to parliament with authorization, with authority to act on your behalf. And that authority can be overcome by power superior to authority. We can exercise the power over our leadership on a daily basis rather than becoming absent landlord of stores. We give them the store and so we can come back in 5 years to see how you run my store. If you really own a business, you'll be there every day. The first week, you begin to hold the management
you want to return on your investment? Yeah, of course.
So we need to start asking for return on our authority.
Go ahead, John. We lost.
What do we have to do? Take ownership.
If I may, and Cialan, I'm so happy you went there. Because that is the statement almost of the day. And the power does belong to the people, and the Bahamian people have been robbed even of the knowledge of that. Okay. And we create these demis out of our political leaders, and that is also a part of the Machiavellian exercise that's being done. It is to make the people as dependent as they can upon the state, and to put the state in the position of the parent. So as our family structures have been broken and gone to pot, the state has stepped in as your parent. And the state is the one to whom you must turn to for every blessed thing. To get a pothole fixed in front of your house, to get a job, you got to call your MP. So the state is, you have to constantly go to the state. And
just a second, caller. Finish your point, John.
And so you have the concern. And as Alan has said, one of the things I've been pushing aggressively now, Michelle, is the concept of the block, BLOC -K. And it is of the voters block. But BLOC stands for Bahamians lobbying for ownership and control. The hyphen is through knowledge. BLOCK. Bahamians lobbying for ownership and control through knowledge. And knowledge comes through the access to information. And we are in the information age. So we have no excuse. We don't need to wait on government for knowledge. So when you look at these individual blocks, and CA just started to point to it, this election is very pivotal. Women in this country are over 50%, better part of 56% of the voting population. Women are a voting bloc. Women should not come out of this election without pulling themselves together and saying collectively, we will not vote for anybody who does not support equal pay for equal work. Don't knock on my door. And at the end of the day, I don't care which party you for, but if you come and you sign this paper, I'm a part of the female voting bloc of the Bahamas. And if we have all said we want equal pay for equal work, you need to sign this piece of paper to say that you,
and do it on
day one, will vote for that in Parliament. And if not, we will personally come and drag you out day two. And
okay, John, I don't want to lose this caller. We got a caller hanging on. So go ahead, caller. You're on the show.
How you doing, Michelle?
Great. How are you?
Good show.
Thank you.
I just want to say I did a list of 21 persons, and I called that list on Guardian Radio. I want to say good afternoon to your guests, two great Bahamians who I follow, and what they say. Number 2 on that list was Mr. C. Allen, and number 3 is Mr. John Bostwick. Number 17 is Miss Michelle Malcolm.
I only got 17?
No, I tell you what. No,
I'm only kidding, Amos.
Let's go wide.
Hold on. The reason why you are number 17. Don't get to. Okay, so I can leave that right there.
Please, I'm
anyway, this is what I want my good two brothers to hear and to be encouraged. And the people who have written in so far from Facebook, people who follows this show, okay, Global Paradigm Shift, and Michelle Malcolm, one of the most exquisite women I have ever seen.
Oh my God!
Real talk. listen, my friends. Listen, world. No weapon would form against Amos Jr. Miller, the names I have called, and the glorious divine people of God shall prosper. That's the first thing I want to establish. The second thing I want to establish is I am in 100% agreement so far with the show. The third thing I want to establish is this. Those who are not calling in to the show, all right, who know what Amos dealing with, they are bought out. They're looking for some F&M contract or expecting to get some PLC contract. I need both parties to hear me in the Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, Holy of Holies. However, Amos Jr. Miller, his 3 children, his mother that is alive, his father that is alive in Orlando, and my family and those who mean me well, the real Bahamians, we do not. I will never betray myself. That's point number 1. Okay? And I don't want yours to ever believe no one can buy my life for money. If you offer me money, you insult my spiritual intelligence.
Okay, Amos.
Which are fleshly. So not y'all guys. I'm not talking with y'all guys. I'm talking with them outside.
Amos, I need you to wrap it up though, because John has to
leave. So wrapping up.
Yeah.
I agree with Mr. John Bostwick. $100,000. Listen to me. We own a divine wealth. We own all the wealth. How you could tell me what you can give me? You need all of the ladies. Women, come on now. This is your time. I want all the leaders of these different parties to hear me, including those who want to come and win and those who do now. Ladies, get together, please, and look and see what God has done for you.
Thank you, Amos.
Read Isaiah 58, ladies. That's all I call to tell you.
All right.
Please. Love you, girl.
Thank you, Amos. Thank you. All right. So, John, I know you got to pull out. So give us your final thoughts before we take this break.
Michelle, I thank you firstly for inviting me on the show and also for inviting me at a time when the great critical thinker is present. Not many people dare think in this country, much less to think critically. Critical commentary is never seen as constructive in the Bahamas. It's quite sad. And the topic is one that I would love to get back to and to expand. It is one that is deep and as diverse as the 100+ natural resources we have in this country. And again, I think as you're going to hear Cialan say and finish up, the issue is leadership. There's nothing else. And where there's no vision in the leadership, the people shall perish. Bahamian people are perishing due to lack of vision. Some of that is due to ignorance, and some of that is due to corruption. Some of them can see, and some of them are burying their heads in the sand. But it all comes down to
Michelle. Just a second, caller. Just a second.
All of it comes down to a marked lack of vision. Okay. So I thank you much.
John is talking.
Yeah, caller, just give us a minute, please. Let John finish his point. Go ahead, John.
So again, and I thank you very much. The answer to the Bahamas is in sovereign wealth, but as properly understood, as properly constructed, and managed as a trust on behalf of the Bahamian people through national corporations, and the ownership of which is placed in the people of the Bahamas. And the final thing, and I would hope that Cialan will expand the point, Michelle, this concept of sovereign in the Bahamas, so long as we still have the Queen as our sovereign, it has a definition in and of itself. We still have the concept of crown assets, crown land, crown this and crown that. It seems semantic, but we need to change all references of that nature to public. And we need to make sure that when we refer to sovereign, that sovereign in the Bahamas means sovereign as to the sovereign rights of the people, the Bahamian people. It's very important. That simple line distinction is very important to make in this discussion. So
thank you.
I thank you, and I leave you in the hands of the great critical thinker.
All right.
And John, I just want people to know that you may be leaving the show, but we're not going anywhere. You will begin to see a revolution of thought because and I'm telling you that John and I, we share very similar thoughts, and we're gonna start coming together because we are at a critical point coming out of this pandemic. That we must allow
I don't want to lose this caller. The caller's been holding on for a good while. Thank you, John.
Take care.
Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, Michelle. But this is a wealth of information. Honestly, this is an abundance of information. It's good to talk about these things. I agree with many of the points that have been mentioned, especially Cialan, you mentioned earlier that knowledge is one thing. Application of knowledge to your betterment is wisdom. The thing about it is, when it comes down to that application, my question is, what are we gonna do? What's the first step? There's so much information. There's so many Bahamians here that are in the dark when it comes down to this. And I'm glad that we have constant discussions about this, our natural resources. What is the first step? How do we take off? How do we light the firecracker to watch it shoot up in the sky?
How do we move from talking to action?
We could be talking too much. Okay. Now, we can never talk too much, but when it comes down to the application of that wisdom for our embetterment as a country, for us to start being wise, to start displaying wisdom, what do we do right now to move in a forward direction?
Okay, caller. Thank you so much. I'm going to let Cialan ponder that while we take this quick commercial break because we got to pay our bills, y'all. I can't leave any commercials out. So let's go to. Thank you, caller, for calling. Let's go to the commercial break, get our final ads in, and then Cialan, you can wrap up by giving us the solution to everything we've discussed today. Stay with us, everyone. This is GPS.
I call it perfection. When elegance and taste make a connection. Every single dish is a taste of heaven. For your banquet or your wedding, who you getting? HD Catering. HD Catering.
Book Heaven's Delicacy Catering today with Chef Lachey Jones and experience a taste of heaven on earth. Call 533-9621.
HD Catering.
Want to look your best and feel even better? Visit J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa for the ultimate beauty, body, and anti-aging treatments, offering custom colors, haircuts, vegan anti-freeze treatments, silk blowouts, natural and acrylic nails, unisex pedicures, facials and massages, all waxing services, and microcurrent therapies for anti-aging and body sculpting. J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madeira Street, telephone 326-7863.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all. Schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting sugar-free berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back with only a few minutes left. So, Cialan, I'm going to treat this as your final thoughts on the topic that we've discussed today. What is the way forward? How do we fix this? Real quick, we've only got 3 minutes.
Oxygen, O2, organize for ownership. When you have individuals come and say they want to represent you as part of the leadership thing, you have to trust what they're saying, but verify. Not only when they tell you what they're going to do, ask them how they're going to do it. Make sure that they understand and comprehensively understand what you're facing as a nation and what you're facing from your personal economy. Do not allow them to come to you and tell you what the party is going to do. They are part of the party. It's not a party going to parliament. They are. So if you begin to look to make sure that they have competence of understanding what has to be done and how to do it. When they say they can do the green economy, how? When they say they can do the blue economy, how? How? And if you don't know exactly the questions to ask, it's those of us that do. And so basically what we have to do is we have to come together as a united force so they could know that we mean business going forward. Ownership, we can own our parliament, we can own our economy, we can own our nation. Thank you.
Wow, I think that's a fast. Thank you, Cialan, so much for being on the show today. And a huge thanks to John Bostwick, who had to slip out a little early. Thank you both for being a part of this engaging discussion today. I know a lot of people have been really enlightened, and we have so much work to do. And we need all hands on deck to get it done, because we cannot sit back and allow things to remain as they are. So thank you so much, Cialan, for always insightful input. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Michelle.
Well, that's going to do it, guys, for today's show. We are out of time, and time went by fast today. Wow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to all of our sponsors for making today's show possible. And what can I say, guys? We have to wake up and demand more and see what we can do as individuals and collectively to ensure that our leaders listen to us, hear us, and make the necessary change or understand. Listen, we running this thing. You don't do what we say to do, you're gone. Simple as that. We have to demand more. So tomorrow is Wednesday. You know what that means? It's going to be a Wellness Wednesday show. Going to be bringing you some serious knowledge as it relates to your health and well-being. Don't you dare miss it. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thanks so much for being here and being a part of GPS. Have a good day, everybody.